We are inside the oldest anthracite coal mine in the US. Followed by that, we are going to a town which has earned the nickname of Switzerland of the US. But this town's name is has a history of scandals of epic proportions. The town is full of very interesting quirks. We are going to explore some of those, and then we are going to go and ride a historic railroad. And all of this is happening in the Carbon County of Pennsylvania, and we are going to visit the beautiful town of Jim Thorpe, ride the Lehigh Gorge Railroad, and visit the anthracite coal mine. This is going to be an absolute epic day, so come join me on a journey of Jim Thorpe. Now, our day started off at the anthracite coal mine. The Jim Thorpe is really the center, but it's like 20 minutes from there. You go and visit one of these oldest anthracite coal mines. Now, the name of this whole area is Carbon County, so it is not a surprise that the whole history and the heritage of this location is completely based off the discovery of coal, which happened in early 1820s. And this is one of the oldest coal mines which is still you can visit. The coal mine ceased operation in the mid 1970s, but you can get down on that yellow thing which they call it a train. I don't. I call it a death trap. So we are going to ride that death trap and we are going to head inside the coal mine. Now, today this coal mine is privately operated. It is owned by a family for many years, as the year mark suggests. The coal mine operated in 1931, but then it completely closed down in somewhere 1970s, and then it restarted. The train ride is roughly 4 minutes. It is very noisy, this particular train ride. So after the 4 minutes, we are sort of in. There is this station inside, and it is a completely guided tour which lasts roughly 65-70 minutes. And there is some really fascinating stuff in here. Like for example, this section, what you are seeing, this coal mine is actually 3-story tall, and this is actually an elevator. So they would actually pull up and down like the whole cars, train cars full of coal from those elevator shafts. And this is apparently the only remaining or the last sort of accessible elevators from back in the day.
Is one of 8 original coal cars we have recovered from this mine. Empty, this car weighs around 1 ton, and it had around a 5-ton capacity for anything they could fill it with. Rock, coal, equipment, and even men. As this is one of the ways they would have brought the miners into the mine. Exactly the same way you came in a modified coal car, just missing the cushioned seats, roof, and comfortable suspension.
Now we get to walk around the coal mine quite a bit. It sort of goes in a circle. We are in a guided tour. So this is one of those shafts which you can see has been very neatly carved, and there are these great machines. We could go and visit those. We also saw this hospital where apparently the only medicine was a little bit of whiskey, if you are lucky, and there was like no light and anything. But this was the first instance of any hospital, any kind of first aid inside a coal mine. So the coal mine, this particular mine has done a lot of those first, and this mine is overall 3 stories deep underground. So a fascinating trip, and once you are out, there are some, some souvenirs for coal. We ended up buying this small figurine, which is made out of anthracite coal. So it made for a really fun, interesting beginning of the day. Now, next stop, we are headed to this Lehigh Gorge State Park, where we are going to visit by this Lehigh Gorge Railroad. This railroad's history and the coal mine's history are co-joined. They are tied together. There was this horse-drawn switchback railroad over here even before steam trains were invented back in early 1820s to bring coal out to the cities. Then this train line, as the steam trains sort of became more common, this train line was put here in the mid 1850s, and this line has been operating since then. Now, today this passenger railroad is only for tourism. It only goes in like a small sort of a loop over like 15 miles. It goes to this place called Lehigh Gorge State Park. But back in the day, this was the most important line or the most important sort of connection to bring all the coal which this carbon country used to produce back to Philadelphia, New York, and all those other big cities. And this was obviously the way to bring all the mails and bring people in, because this whole area, if you have never visited this is, as you can see a little bit in the distance, is full of mountains and forests. So this was not an accessible area 100 years back, and people's life used to depend on this train. Now, today this train is an extremely long train. First and foremost, you see a whole bunch of different sort of carriages over here, and you have a few different options, from like a very, very rudimentary one to a first class one. We chose to ride this open carriage. I don't know whether it's the right choice or not, because there is no AC or anything, and it is a really hot day. We are visiting in the peak of summer, but obviously the open carriage makes it, just enjoying the nature a lot more pleasant. Now, as I said, as you can see, the train is super long, and it goes right next to this bikeway, which is called the DNL trail. So this is a multi-use trail. Obviously, you can run, but you can bike, and this is one of the longest trails anywhere in Pennsylvania. It goes for more than 160 miles, right next to the Lehigh River. Now we are coming up to something very fascinating. You see that small pipe thingy on top? That is the world's first oil pipeline, which was built in the year 1860s. Today, it doesn't carry any more oil pipeline. As you can see, the diameter is pretty narrow compared to the modern day oil pipeline, and it has been converted to carry fiber optics. Over there, you also see an abandoned tunnel. So there was another iteration of this railroad and the tunnel, which has now broken down. But down below there is a beach which you can go, and if you're really, really adventurous, you can actually hike into the tunnel. There are quite a few like YouTube videos and blogs about people who have done it. But that's definitely not my cup of tea. I would rather enjoy this gentleman enjoying his fruit. He seems to be having fun with his fruit. Anyways, we are kind of heading back right into the station. The train ride lasts roughly like 75 minutes or so. You can see there's a whole bunch of sort of parking spots on the way, so you can drive in, you can access the river, do whitewater rafting. The river is really popular for whitewater rafting and kayaking, as you can imagine. And with that, we are sort of heading right into the station at evening like 4:30ish. So as we are sort of into the station, after we come into the station, next stop we want to go and visit the town of Jim Thorpe. Now, here, as soon as you come out of the station, you find this huge block of coal. It's Carbon County after all. Now, you would have seen in my previous screen that it says Old Moch Chuck. But why am I saying Jim Thorpe? And that's where lies the scandal. The original name of the town was Moch Chuck. Now, Jim Thorpe, who is obviously a very famous athlete from the early 20th century, so obviously it made me wonder, was Jim Thorpe born here, or he died here? Or what is his connection to this place that they gave the name Jim Thorpe? As you can see, there's Moch Chuck in most of the buildings, and businesses still call it a Moch Chuck. It turns out, after Jim Thorpe died, somewhere in 1950s, his wife, third wife to be precise, actually sold the rights of his name and his body to this town. And so then his body was brought here, and it was buried over here. So today you can go and visit his final resting place of Jim Thorpe in this town. But his son actually then filed a case against his wife and this town to give the body back. The court dragged on, and I'm not a legal expert, but after a very long prolonged fight, the town was allowed to keep the body and the name. So yeah, the name the name is has a very interesting and a scandalous past. Now the town is spectacular. It is sort of very, kind of, I would say, like European a little bit. It is called Switzerland of the East, Switzerland of the US. I don't know whether I would go that far. It's definitely below those mountains and those beautiful wooden houses, and the historic wooden houses has a unique vibe and a charm, but probably Switzerland, not quite at the same level of Switzerland. There is this very interesting section over here called the Race Street, and once we enter here, this is where you can see there's quite a few very old cars were literally just off for sale right on the side of the road. So this street is called the Race Street, which was created by U.S. House of Representative member Asa Packer back in mid 1850s, where he created over 16 the stone row houses, as you see on the right hand side, and this has survived for 150 years. Some of them have become restaurants and bars, but this is a very historic and unique sort of a history of Jim Thorpe. Every house is sort of looks slightly different, and it has its own sort of uniqueness to it. On the way back, on a hot summer day, what do you need more than a nice little ice cream? The ice cream line was really long. We finally got some. We enjoyed the trains going back to its yard, and that ends a beautiful day in Jim Thorpe in Pennsylvania.